All right. My heater is off.
Let the freezing begin.
I know, right? All right. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Well, hello and welcome. So you found us. We are the creatures of the night, right? And I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
And this is the kind of podcast where you'll get to hear all sorts of stories about the paranormal. We find out about some really interesting stuff from all over the world. And then we dig up history and any experiences that the people involved have claimed to have had. And then we put it all together on a big old podcast platter for you. We're like Applebee's with a whole lot of haunted apps and good times.
I love that. And you know what? I was listening to a podcast and they were making a joke about how their first episode is their most downloaded episode because there's so many times that people will catch you advertising a recent episode. They might listen to that recent episode and then they're like, okay. And they start back from the beginning. I'm one of those type of people too. But then they were joking about how they feel like they probably lose a lot of listeners immediately after the first episode. Because I mean, like your first episode is not typically going to be your best when you're not a professional audio and sound technician or anything like that. So if this is your first time ever joining us, please work from this way backwards.
Or don't go backwards. Just keep going forward with us.
We have a lot of great episodes that we've covered, and our sound and technique and all that has gotten just better and better with each podcast. So just keep going back, and then when it starts to sound a little bit silly, stop there. And then only move forward.
I mean, I think that we've had some really, really good stories, but yeah, definitely the sound quality has improved over time. Some of the challenges that we were having in the beginning, we don't really have anymore. But I mean, you say like professional people. I mean, there are people like Lore, one of the podcasts that we listened to. I mean, they didn't sound that fantastic, on his first couple of episodes either. It took him a while to get it mastered. So even the greats have had their...
Yeah, I just meant to fall in love with us and our podcast, I'd work backwards.
Yeah, right. So just like Wendy said, in case you're new here, this is pretty much what our show is about. It's two girls having a few drinks and sharing some spooky stories. And we've improved over time, just like a fine wine. So Wendy, I finally got around to watching a ghost story. You know that one, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I figured you did. My husband actually recommended that we watch it, but it's not one of those that I was really wanting to see just because it seemed like it would be a sad movie. Mm-hmm. And it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't end up crying my eyes out or anything. But I just really felt so bad for the other ghost, the neighbor ghost, the one that's like... the waving, and then the other waves back, and then boom, they start speaking in subtitles. So I had this thought like, oh my God, that might have been what we've been catching all of these years, but they're orbs. It's just ghostly subtitles. We just can't see it.
Never thought about that.
Didn't either. It had just dawned on me when I watched that movie. So, I felt really bad for the ghost neighbor. He didn't really seem to ever figure it out. And I was wondering if you had any idea of what actually happened to him. Did he just disappear with time, or did I miss something? Do you remember?
No, I don't think that I ever understood that too. The movie to me is really somber, and then it's got that level of, I was a little confused.
Yeah.
Left you like, wait, what happened?
Right,
but
what happened?
Are you shocked that Ghost left you confused? Did he give you all the answers? I mean.
Wow, good point. No, I guess I'm not. No, the movie actually made me think that ghosts were a lot more like stray puppies. And I was waiting at the end of the movie for there to be an ad from Sarah McLachlan, asking for a donation for all the suffering ghosts in the world or something like that. I did, however, really enjoy seeing the sheet ghost of Casey Affleck, flinging dishes and shit all over the kitchen. I thought that was really action-packed. And did you even know that Kesha was in the movie?
No, I just saw little trailers and, the title, and I'm like, okay, I'm there. Well, I'm a big fan of like The Others with Nicole Kidman and stuff, and I thought it'd have like that kind of vibe to it or something of, just a little twist of unknown and just what it's like, I guess, to be a ghost. So yeah, I didn't really look much into it before I was like on board.
I guess that's what my husband was thinking too. I mean, it was artsy and it was somber and it was, ghostly related. So yeah, I mean, I watched it. It's definitely not going to be one of my favorites, but I did like the concept. I liked, which is kind of weird, but I did the idea that they are kind of stuck and waiting for something. And whatever that something is, it's very personal to them. And it gave me something to watch while I was sick. So
I think that it was very imaginative and original with like so many people today that they just remake movies, all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's always good to see like something totally different.
That's true.
In a way nobody else has done.
Yeah, that's true. It was artsy. And it's funny because it seems like we're on this artsy kick. We had just watched The Lighthouse and now I'm watching a ghost story. I'm like, come on. But it was nice. Like I said, I've been sick and it's been freaking cold here. As a matter of fact, I had to go out today and buy another heater and keep it in the hallway. So while I'm in the basement, I've got my door open and the upstairs is supposed to be silent. My husband is actually going to lay down so that he's not rolling around in his chair and screaming at the computer. So I shouldn't have any opportunities for that to be heard. But guys, it is, 15 degrees outside. And for whatever reason, like the basement, there's no insulation here. So it's just, I'm sitting in a freezer. So I've had these two heaters going and the dryer going for like hours. So it'll be like a decent temperature. Like it's 65 right now. So it feels okay.
It's just going to drop though so quickly.
It is. It was 3 degrees this morning.
No.
And my husband, I go to start the coffee maker and he's like, I was actually going to go out and get coffee. And he's like, you want some? I'm like, well, yeah, if you're going to go out, but I'm not going. So yeah, he came back and reported it was a brisk 3 degrees.
Brisk. I call that deadly.
It's freezing. The other day, I had texted him after he sent me a screenshot of the forecast for the week, which was horrible. It was like 24, 17, 10. Like it was going downhill fast. And I was like, what are we even doing here? And he just sent me a screenshot of a brown recluse spider. And I was like, oh yeah.
What?
Got it.
That was not helping the situation if he thought that it was. I mean, he should have sent you a picture of like what it looks like in the summer. Motivation.
No, he goes right for the things that I fear. And I definitely remember that those were where we lived. I'm like, okay, good. I won't even think about it. Done.
Oh, I see. He's referencing. Yeah. But there's lots of places you can live. Arizona.
I know. Right.
You would deal with spiders though. So, I mean, never mind. I actually just lost that argument.
But are they deadly like brown recluse spiders? Do you have those kind of things?
I do believe that we have black widows and they're like deadly, right? So I don't know if they have brown recluses here. I don't think I've ever seen one.
They can't take it. It's like, it's not enough humidity for them.
We have to have them, I'm sure. Didn't I tell you about that really angry spider I saw in my house? I have no idea what kind that one was. It was an alien. It was not normal. So I know that had to have been pretty bad. Yeah, but the tarantulas aren't really a problem.
Yeah, they're eating other things in the desert. They're not eating you. They're not coming after you to poison you. Nothing like that, right? They feed off of things that are in the desert, right?
Oh, yeah. They eat like all the bugs and everything like that, which all spiders do that. But I mean, some of them can kill you. And tarantulas aren't really about that. Even if they're a little bit poisonous, it's like a little bit poisonous and very treatable. So, and I could be getting that all wrong. But I know they're not that harmful. I do know that.
Where did you get your information? Wendy told me. Duh. Like, okay, well, it works for you.
Never trust me.
But in another much warmer part of the U.S., Wendy, Mardi Gras is going on right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw I follow social media, like some of the local stuff, news or whatever, what's happening in Tucson type thing. And Tucson was trying to have their own first Mardi Gras parade. Oh. And it was the saddest little float. It was like all by itself or something too. It's like, maybe in like a few years this will be better.
Wow. That's really cute. They should really do it. I mean, it's a tradition to start up and at least it's another, means of getting everyone together and out to celebrate, right?
Yeah. And who doesn't want to celebrate Mardi Gras? So.
Right. Exactly. So I was super excited to realize that Mardi Gras was going on right now because I was thinking, well, there's got to be some really awesome Mardi Gras ghost stories to tell you about, right? But really all I got was a lot of history on the subject. Yeah, not so much hauntings that would be associated with the celebration. And that's what I was going for. And you know what? Actually, that's not entirely true. There's one restaurant that's related. It's called Arnaud's, if I'm saying that right. We had actually walked right past it because it's on Bourbon Street. I know we've said this before. It's like, how did I not know that? But there's 1,000 places. There's no way I would know about everything. But this little place is kind of cool. It's got a boatload of Mardi Gras ball gowns on display and a few ghosts hanging around that I may one day tell you about. But my story is not on our nod, so I won't be telling you that story today.
Damn, I wanted to hear about haunted ball gowns.
Well, from what I understand, it's like the Countess's daughter or something, and she's supposed to be seen in a ball gown, but I don't think she's moving around the ball gowns or dancing with them or doing anything kind of cool. It was like, okay, that's a good story. We'll come back to that one. And even from saying that, my story is not even on Mardi Gras because, like I said, I couldn't really find any hauntings associated with it. But while I was researching, I did come across some pretty interesting stuff. So this is really just some food for thought. And maybe people in Arizona will like to hear this since they're just now kicking off.
They're psyched about it, man. So.
Well, first, because Alabama is working so damn hard to let everyone know that they were actually the first place to celebrate Mardi Gras in 1703.
Interesting. I did not know that.
I know. I felt that I should do them a solid and tell all of our listeners about that too. And Mobile, Alabama actually has a more family-oriented type of a celebration, not like the wild parties that are happening down on Bourbon Street that come to mind when you think about Mardi Gras. Alabama even has its own Mardi Gras museum, and it's filled to the brim with decorations, masks, more ball gowns, just a ton of cool ass shit. And yeah, in case you were wondering, I only know about that place because it's haunted too.
Nice.
Well, the ghosts there seem to be more like very playful spirits, which is kind of nice given that the museum was actually a mortuary before they turned it into the museum.
Ooh, well, all the spirits left from the mortuary were probably psyched to see all these cool, flashy things. Mm-hmm. They're like, this is fun. This is beautiful. My niece dressed me in this old rag, and now I have a ball gown.
Oh, that is so sweet because that's actually where my mind went with that story, too, as I read more about it. It seemed like there wasn't any hauntings actually being reported at that place prior to the museum taking it. And to me, it seemed like they awakened the spirits there. They're kind of like, wow, shit, this is cool. I like this. They're playing happy jazz music all the time. And, there's all these pretty things to look at. And there's, the people coming into the museum have a different sense about them, a different energy. They're not mourning. They're not sad, so it's a very uplifting kind of a thing. And like I said, it seems like the spirits there are very playful. They do kind of playful things. So that's a cool place to visit if you're in Alabama, or if you're there for Mardi Gras, for the family-oriented style of Mardi Gras, then take your family to the museum and see some stuff. But this was actually what I found so interesting and had to share. Never mind any of that other stuff. There is apparently an interesting tradition that takes place during Mardi Gras, which is quite different than the usual carnival-style party. It's a medieval French custom turned tradition called Courier de Mardi Gras, or the Mardi Gras Run. And this takes place in a more rustic part of southern Louisiana at sunrise on Mardi Gras. The run was created as a means to collect all of the ingredients used for concocting a communal gumbo. Everyone, bring it all in. Let's put it in the pile. Everyone that participates will gather together and parade to local farms and houses and basically beg for ingredients along the way, ending in a feast that only Fat Tuesday could achieve. During early European begging rituals like that of Halloween, wassailing, and there's a French word here that I will ruin with my southern/Midwestern tongue, so I won't even attempt it. But this tradition of begging from house to house was considered to be admissible behavior and socially acceptable. Handmade costumes and masks allowed for concealing the identities of all that begged, so groups of both the wealthy and the poor could gather together and sing and dance in exchange for the generous offerings bestowed upon them. In Louisiana, these folk traditions were brought by the settlers of Celtic and French Europe into the Acadia region during the 17th and 18th century, and is still common practice today, but with a few modern twists. Blindfold, macabre masks, and even animal masks, antlers, and other strange paraphernalia are all now the genuine wear for Courier de Mardi Gras. The traditional dancing, drinking, begging, feasting, whipping, and penance.
Wait.
I know, wait.
Where'd the whipping come from?
Oh, yeah, I'm getting there.
I'm already confused by the mask, and not so much the mask as the animal, attire, but okay.
Mm-hmm. Just give me a few minutes here. I'll wrap it up.
I'm listening.
So this is all now quite customary. So what happens is in the early morning hours of Fat Tuesday, riders will gather at a quote unquote central meeting place, and the Le Capitaine, who is the leader of the Mardi Gras, and his co-capitaines shout out the rules that must be adhered to by all. Once all the merrymakers, or Mardi Gras as they are called collectively, are organized, then drums and other instruments are played as they begin their procession on to their first location. The Capitaine approaches first, requesting permission to enter into the private property, while the band of Mardi Gras attempt to sneak onto the property. While this is happening, the Capitaine chases and scolds them using their burlap whips. Jesus. Hijinks, horseplay, and all manner of pranks are played on the farmers while begging for food and ingredients that will be used for the gumbo. Chicken, sausage, rice, and vegetables are all prize-winning ingredients, but a live chicken bolsters the most excitement while the highly intoxicated Mardi Gras run around trying their best to catch them. So nowadays, trucks and trailers are used as a mean to move along their routes in addition to those that still ride on horseback. But the centuries-old tradition of Courier de Mardi Gras is still very much alive and well in rural Louisiana. And I had to share that because to me it was significant. It is again something coming from the Acadia region, and it has that Krampus vibe. Right?
Yeah, like where did they come up with this idea?
I don't know. I want to say that that's part of their, like you pointed out, the animal masks and things like that. Like that's more of the modernizing of it, I think. I didn't really find too much of a backstory, just that that's how it's portrayed nowadays. But the running around and slapping people with branches, I was like, oh my God, I know where you guys are going with this one. At least they're not so big into that whole kidnapping part of the story.
Just the stealing. Well, no, they're begging. So
they're begging.
Yeah.
Yes, they're begging. They're getting intoxicated. They're chasing chickens. I think I might be able to participate in this sort of run. You know?
It sounds pretty fun. And you get gumbo in the end. So, I mean, fuck
Oh
yeah, sign me up.
Tell me about it. While I was writing this story, like that's all I could think of. Like I made, and this is nothing compared, but I have, Zatarans. It's my jambalaya for the week. And I make it with sausage or chicken. I spice it up. The best that I can do. So that's all fun and games for the New Orleanians. And while all of the festivities and celebrations were all well underway, there were others that couldn't partake in any of those events because they had to work. So now I have a little ghost story for you. And of course, all this looking around at Mardi Gras put me back in a New Orleans state of mind. So guess where we're going for today's tale?
Arkansas. No.
That's right. Arkansas. How did you guess it? No. So let me take you back to the 1800s when Louisiana became the first state with a law requiring that anyone wanting to become a pharmacist to pass a 3-hour oral examination by physicians and pharmacists. Well, one man was so determined to claim that as his personal victory that in 1816, the very passionate New Orleanian by the name of Louis J. DeFilho Jr. was the first person to pass the exam, which also made him the very first licensed pharmacist in the country. The law, which Governor William C.C. Claiborne had backed, had now eliminated the original system, which was unregulated, and let anyone mix and dispense medications after a 6-month apprenticeship. And that's like mixed paint. You done good. Go mix some medicines.
I mean, they could kill someone, but, whatever.
Give it a shot. We'll see what harm you can do. Go ahead. This, as you could imagine, consequently led to frequent mistakes when it came to prescribing and dispensing drugs. So, way to go, Louisiana. DeFilho, with his science-based approach, was a trailblazer for pharmacists, not just in New Orleans, but across the nation. Because of his knowledge and reputation, he showed that a pharmacist could be more than just someone who makes and dispenses medication. Louis J. DeFilho Jr., now a man with a very fine reputation, then purchased lots 514 through 516 on Chartres Street on June 5th, 1822. This was originally a small Creole townhouse that was constructed sometime between 1822 and 1823. So DeFilho, he moves in with his family and officially opens up his own apothecary for business in 1823. And over some time, he had built onto the little townhouse, creating the 3-story structure that still stands in the French Quarter today. All was going well for this man. Business was booming. He was well-liked and upstanding. The good doctor continued to experiment with new and more effective medicines, including his development of quinine. I don't know that one, guys. So it was used to battle the scourge of yellow fever.
Not quinine, though?
Maybe that's it.
Is that deadly, quinine? No, I don't think so. I think it's a medicine.
It's supposed to be a medicine, but, there was a lot of things that they used back in the day that you don't touch nowadays, Not for medicinal purposes.
That's what I was about to say. Maybe for funsies, but...
I'll get into those a little later. So as you know, yellow fever was a very terrible disease, which took the lives of nearly 1 in every 6 New Orleanians, including DeFillo's own brother. And treating as many people as he was, it basically worked DeFillo to death. So in 1855, after over 3 decades of service to medicine, DeFillo returned to France and died. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that while you were drinking.
Poor thing.
And I felt so bad for him because it seems like this guy was just like working and working and working. And then he had done something so great. And he's just like, I can't do it anymore, guys. I need to take a break. But his body was just like, oh, okay, you're done. You're done.
Well, don't you hear all those stories about people that retire and like a month later they just croak?
You're 100% right. I hear that story all the time. And I thought this was this man's story. So yeah, I think he was about 68 years old and that was it for him. And that was the end of his story, but not the end of mine, clearly, because I'm just getting started. What are we, like 10 minutes in? But before DeFillo left the apothecary, he and his family sold the location to Fletus Dupas and her husband, Dr. Joseph Dupas, for $18,000.
Her name is Fletus?
I think so. It's Fleitis. But it just rolls off the tongue. Fletus Dupas. I mean...
Well, when you say her first name by itself, I'm like, oh, actually, that's not so bad. I think it's the combination of her first name and her last name that's like, wow, you poor thing.
Yeah, her maiden name must have been really rough for her to just be like, okay, we'll do this. Her original maiden name was douchebag.
Spread those rumors. That's what we do.
Right. That's what we do. All right. So, yeah. So he sells it to Fletus and her husband for $18,000, which seemed to work out great for everyone. Dr. James Dupas was a pharmacist and a physician also. Great. The town can still go to their familiar pharmacy for drugs and advice, and he's got a place that's already been turned into the perfect home and apothecary. Win-win, done deal. But this is actually where the bright future for the booming, well-renowned pharmacy at 514 Chartres Street darkened, and rather quickly. Because just after this swift takeover, mysterious things started to happen. There's this quote from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and this is the one with Gene Wilder, and it always gave me the creepy vibe, and probably also made me like that movie a whole lot more. But it's when Charlie is standing at the gates, and he's looking in at Wonka's factory, and this older man comes by, like, I don't know, a street vendor or something, because he's got a cart full of shit. But he says to Charlie, nobody ever goes in and nobody ever comes out. Freaking that poor kid out. I'm like, that's right. What's going on in there? Well, of course, he's talking about, the Oompa Loompas. But in my story, it was partly the same case at the apothecary because while Dr. Dupas was the residing physician, people were seen entering the building, but they were never seen leaving.
Oh, no.
Somebody
must like experimenting.
Oh, yeah, that's him. So as it turns out, he was actually a really bad dude. Dr. Dupas engaged in experimental pharmacology. The beautifully carved rosewood cabinets would be filled with narcotics, voodoo powders, herbal tonics, magical oils, lithium, cocaine, and heroin, all sorts of things a doctor in the 19th century would use to treat the ill and ailing. After all, this was a time when it was not a big deal to see a glass jar labeled with leeches sitting on the shelf. So even if the cabinets had been left wide open, I don't think that anybody would have batted an eye. Although he was mixing tonics and overprescribing medicines that had mysterious and questionable ingredients, and even those having highly addictive components, and offering those up for medicinal purposes. But that was just the beginning for this mad doctor. He also performed medical experiments, which involved using primitive razor-sharp drills to bore into people's skulls, scissor-like dilators, bloodletting knives, and the average eye scalpel.
Wait, what did you say? You said ice or eye? What did you say?
Eye scalpels.
No. How's that going to help you with anything?
I know. It doesn't help you with anything. I think it helped him to get up under them eyeballs.
Why are you doing that, though? Stop it.
This guy was a freaking weirdo. And so look, I haven't heard any lore episodes in a really long time. Planning on getting them all downloaded though and listening to them while I'm traveling. But I would be super shocked if Aaron Mahnke hadn't already found this guy and did a story on him, because this seems so right up his alley. And then, he can add all of his great spooky piano music behind his story and it'll sound like a masterpiece. Not like a girl that's sitting in her haunted basement using a gamer's headset and drinking wine. Anyways, back to Dupas. He used his office on the second floor of the apothecary shop to carry out his work. Here he conducted vile experiments on enslaved people, pregnant women, and yellow fever patients. He just went after everyone. His healing concoctions were made from various poisonous ingredients, and his treatment often ended in death. Yeah, I get the feeling that he wasn't really trying to treat them. I think he was just a sick little man more interested in messing around with humans. But to cover up what he had done, it was theorized that Dupas used a double door that opened from the second floor onto the carriageway below as a means to pass the bodies of his victims into a waiting wagon, or to allow the corpses of these poor souls to be slipped down unnoticed and buried in unmarked graves throughout the courtyard behind the building. One source says that when he was questioned about his missing patients, Dr. Dupas simply suggested that they had all just moved back to France.
What? Everybody's from France, right?
All of them. That's so funny. That's what excuse me, sir, all of them?
Every single person?
We heard about some hot land up in France that we have to go and move to right away. No, sir.
I mean, didn't you say that he was doing an experiment on enslaved people? And he's like, they moved to France.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't think that they can.
It doesn't work that way. No. No. And I also read, too, that he was in some kind of a dispute over a mill. Him and some other guy had gotten into a huge argument, and he was trying to kill this other guy, basically, is what happened. But he went into business with this other guy over this mill. And I feel like this is kind of where he was getting his enslaved people from, because he was a pharmacist. I don't think that he had a need to have, enslaved people on his property. So I don't know how else he was getting them. And for him to say, they just moved to France. I mean, it didn't make any sense.
No.
That was the story that he was fucking spewing out to everybody that was questioning him. And it was really strange because I thought it was really coincidental. H.H. Holmes kind of did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like, oh, yeah, she moved back to wherever the fuck. I think it was France. I think
They all moved back to France.
They just moved back to France. It must have been really hard to get a hold of anybody that was in France back in the day. So they were just like, well, okay, I guess so. Can't call him anymore. So for over a decade, Dr. Dupas carried on with his horrendous experiments until he was driven mad and supposedly struck down by syphilis in 1867. Now, that's what they say, but of course, because mercury was the common treatment for the STD, and this guy was treating himself to as many doses of mercury that he felt necessary, so struck down by syphilis, or more likely poisoned by mercury, was possibly the cause of his passing. Either way, his crimes only came to light when workers unearthed the remains of many of those alleged just moved to France missing patients who had been discovered buried in the courtyard. Although the doctor had already escaped earthly justice, he may be paying the price of unrest in the afterlife. Today, the New Orleans Pharmacy Museum occupies the Chartres Street building, which has been restored into a beautiful recreation of Dr. DeFillo's shop, with glass and mahogany cabinets displaying the original mortar and pestles, glass medicine bottles, and all manner of instruments and implements of the 19th century pharmacology and medicine, including, of course, those beloved leech jars.
Ugh. That is so funny, though, that they just went there with that. That they were like, yeah, I know that pharmacist was like dark and scary and he was bad doctor. He was overdosing people. But this other one was really great. So we're going to put the museum here. And it's like, yeah, that's your building's a little tainted, though.
I kind of see where they're coming from. They do want to emphasize how important it was for all of this history to have happened in Louisiana. They kind of want to celebrate that and not really go with what happened next. It's like, X-nay on all of that other. Let's go back to the good Dr. DeFillo. The names are similar, right? You don't need to. Let's not talk about him.
Seriously though, they should embrace it somewhat. Not him murdering people. I'm not talking about that, and maybe they do this there, but the different types of medicines that they used to prescribe that they're like, yeah, they had no idea that was, we shouldn't have been doing that.
They do. They do have a lot of that. The museum is actually really cool. I've seen a lot of different pictures and videos and stuff on it. They don't glaze over the pharmaceutical mistakes of the past. They do have that on display. Some of the original bottles, some of the original prescriptions, with I don't know, typed onto the bottle. And how did they have they didn't have Mod Podge back in the day. So there's some kind of glue that they used, probably also toxic, that they smeared across that lead bottle. I mean, the whole thing is bad.
This is all wrong.
All wrong. And the doctor's like, take 2 of these. Look. So it's all around bad. But it's all there. You can see it. And it is a cool piece of history. So, yeah. But they definitely sidestep the dark shit big time.
The murdering. Yes.
The murdering. Yeah. The murders. Okay, so yeah, the museum is super cool, but that's not all they got. There is also a dark presence that resides within the restored walls of the pharmacy, which is weird because they downplay it big time. This entity has been described as being that of a short, stocky, mustached man seen wearing he's got the big time mustache, and he's been seen wearing a brown suit under a white lab coat and a hat. This ghostly man, which roams throughout the pharmacy, has been said to open cabinets, throw books, poking around the glass bottles, rearranging locked displays, and frequently setting off the burglar alarm. Sure, because it's fucking moving around. Right. He has most commonly been seen on the curving stairway that connects the back of the shop to the second floor. Many people have reported feeling a ghostly shove from behind as they walk the creaking wooden stairs. And I mean, this could be malevolent, but it could be just that interpretation of the people feeling it suddenly and being shocked. Though he doesn't really seem to be the type of ghost that would just patiently wait his turn to go up the stairs either. He's like, no, it's cool. Go ahead. No, he really does seem more like the type of spirit that would want to push, especially since he's been known to toss books around or physically move other things. So maybe just hang on to that railing when you're going up the stairs.
Yeah. Or is there like an elevator or something that we could use?
No, you got to go up them stairs, them wooden creaking stairs too. So it's like, it's more haunted anyways.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, have you guys seen any ghosts? No.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Women who are pregnant have reported feeling nauseated or experience abdominal cramps when they're in the second floor rooms where Dupas was said to perform his dark experiments. Today, the second floor is on display and features a variety of vintage medical instruments used for obstetrics. Shit, how do you say that word?
Nope.
What else can I say? For pregnant women.
Obstetrics. Nope.
Obstetrics.
Breadsticks? Baby doctors.
Baby doctors. Yes. Vintage medical instruments used for baby doctors. So, there we go. I looked up the pronunciation and it says exactly what I cannot say. I don't know why. It just fucks me up.
I can hear it in my head. I can't. My mouth won't say it.
Oh, I got it. Here we go. Today, the second floor is on display and features a variety of vintage medical instruments used for obstetrics. So, excuse me, goodness. So, needless to say, there's lots of trigger items hanging around in there. Done and done.
Let's move on.
Moving on. Back down in the courtyard, you can look up to the second floor and see the double green doors through which the doctor is rumored to have passed the bodies of his unfortunate patients. And the ghost of a female has been reportedly seen standing by the fountain at the back of the courtyard. Many have speculated that this was perhaps one of his victims, but we don't really know anything else about her. Now, the New Orleans Pharmacy Museum doesn't go out of its way to hype the deadly deeds of Dr. Dupas or play up his continued presence on the premises. Their focus is mainly to educate visitors on the fascinating history of pharmacology and its history in New Orleans, but also because it seems like its courtyard is a hotspot for weddings and receptions. So, since they're getting top dollar for renting it out for such a blissful occasion, why ruin a good thing, But of course, there's our wonderful New Orleans ghost tours that still take their groups to the pharmacy, reminding them of its morbid past and those spirits that are said to linger within the shadows of that historic old building. One of the owners from Ghost City Tours visited the pharmacy museum and was actually undercover. Like, they didn't let on that they worked for the tour group and just very casually started asking the person working at the front desk if they knew of any ghosts in the building. Oh, hey, how you doing? You got any ghosts around here? Which at that time, he basically regurgitated the entire story that I just gave you. But he also mentioned that 2 children have been seen inside the building and out in the courtyard behind the building. He said that as far as he knew, it was that of a boy and a girl. Well, Louis DeFillo's children, Delphine and Remus, would have died during the time the DeFillo family lived in this location, and this could possibly be the ghostly children that they have been seeing there.
Aww.
But these could just be memories. It seemed like Dr. DeFillo was a good guy, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. And, you know, if anything else, maybe these 2 children are actually good for the spirit woman that's out there in the courtyard, and I don't know, maybe they're getting along, I hope. I don't like to think of children ghosts. A lot of times it's usually said that they're not really children, that they're demons instead. But who knows? There's a lot of weird shit going on here. So, and all I love to do is speculate, and I could go on and on.
I'd like to imagine that they are children ghosts. I know that's stupid to say, but not demons is what I mean. And that they do keep company with the kind spirit.
Yeah.
And that's good for them then.
I would think so. I did find out that both of those children were actually buried at St. Louis Cemetery number 1, which is only a 10-minute walk from the pharmacy.
Yeah,
so.
And they would stay somewhere that they're familiar with and that they're comfortable. You know, they're not going to hang out in the cemetery. Most spirits don't want, I would assume. I don't ask. I mean, I do ask them, but they don't always give clear answers. But
no.
assume they don't want to just stay lingering in a crummy old cemetery. It's boring there.
Well, and it's unfamiliar. And why would you want to remain somewhere that you're not familiar with? I mean, go and watch a ghost story and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
So while I was looking around for any ghostly evidence to share with you, I found a YouTube clip that was posted by Michael Bill in September 2019. He said while he was videotaping, though I'm pretty sure he meant using a cell phone to record a video, but he does use the words videotaping, so. And while he was videotaping upstairs alone, he didn't hear anything, but as he posted the clip to Facebook, a man by the name of Mark Coltis, who is actually a spirit box maker and app developer from England, messaged him and said, "Dude, you got EVPs." I just love how he's like, "Hey, wait a second. Go back and look at your shit." Now, the one video that he had clipped and put on YouTube, it does have an EVP. I don't know if he had more because it seemed like he put stuff on maybe Facebook, but didn't leave it on YouTube, or I don't know, something happened. Maybe I'm not using the right search. I couldn't find it under this man's YouTube page, but there was one there, and the one that he did clip is of a gruff voice, and it appears right at the very beginning of his video. And he even added like a floating word, so you'll recognize at the moment it's being said. But the word is vampire.
Oh my God.
You know that you'd love it. And that's so funny because I actually took out the words I was going to say there. It's like, this is going to set off fire alarms in Wendy's head. But I was like, hold on, maybe it won't. And the word was caught while he filmed the display for mercury and treatments for sexually transmitted infections. And I don't know what the connection is here other than he's in New Orleans and he's looking at a cabinet of medicines. It's just too bad that I don't have the full clip because maybe something had been said prior to that, or maybe the mad Dr. Dupas thought he was actually a vampire. I don't have any idea, but it seems possible to catch EVPs at this location.
And EVPs about vampires. So
Yeah, right.
When are we going back to New Orleans?
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's all I had to say. I should have started with that. Damn it. Hey, Wendy, I got an EVP about vampire.
No, that's just a very interesting word to receive. That's insane. I mean,
Yeah.
And he was just recording this on his phone too. So it's not like he was using a spirit box where you're picking up news or radio thing or something like that where it, I guess, could have pulled that word out. But I mean, like, just to get that on recording?
Yeah. It's as clear as somebody was standing next to him actually whispering the word, like, vampire, you know? And he says, there was nobody up there. I didn't even hear this, which is great because it was an EVP. It was caught on his cell phone. Which is good for us because cell phones are cheap. Fucking put cell phones everywhere. I've got a couple of them.
Cell phones? Oh, yeah, like backup cell phones. So I was about to say, cell phones aren't cheap.
Oh, Not new ones. No, no, no.
Yeah, no new equipment to buy. Good to hear.
Yeah, right. Oh, but I was reading more and more reviews from women who claim to have had the feeling of nausea or being ill in the upstairs room, and more people also mentioning the little girl and boy spirits, seeing or feeling their presence. And I also found an interesting picture from a lady by the name of Kayla. She posted her picture to hauntedplaces.org. And this is from November 7th, 2015. She said that her and her friend visited New Orleans and took a ghost tour. And while on the tour, she was able to take a picture of the inside of the pharmacy, and she caught a strange image. So I'm going to send this to you now.
Real quick, before we leave the topic,
Okay.
I just thought of something. Maybe the word vampire comes from one of the spirits that lost their life there by the mad doctor. Maybe they accused him of being one out of fear because it was such a legend around town.
Right,
You know, if he's bloodletting them or doing, you know, something.
He was.
Yeah, if he's doing some weird blood type thing, their brains might go there.
You know, that's true. I even looked into, like, was that, like, common, like, mercury poisoning? Did it, kind of make you fucking freak out and think that you should have to have blood from other people? I don't really know. I couldn't really find that. But so that was the best that I could come up with, was the fact that they were in New Orleans. And you're right, maybe it was a voice of somebody there who thought that that's what he was doing to them. But are you looking at the picture?
I am looking at the picture.
So I just want to tell you that I added the red circle. She didn't have that.
Oh, thank you so much.
I had a hard time finding it at first, so I was like, okay, if I have a hard time with this, everyone else is going to have a hard time with it. So I circled it.
I appreciate that. So is she calling this a man?
She is saying that it was an anomaly. There was nobody there when she took the picture, but she also said to her it looked nothing like what had been described from the previous stories. And I kind of see what she means. I mean, you can't see full detail. The only thing that I saw that was common was that it's possibly the white lab jacket that has been reported being seen.
Yeah, but it's all spotty at the shoulder and arm area, which makes me think of like lace or something. Though the features of the face seem manly, the dress seems feminine. So I don't know if it's an old lady or
it does.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be a lady. The hair kind of looks like short black ringlets. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. The hair is more feminine too, but like kind of old lady style, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's just because the facial features look so harsh. But,
harsh.
So this is from within the pharmacy museum, correct?
That's correct.
She's inside and she's taking a picture of a cabinet, not a window, right? It's a cabinet?
I don't know. She didn't actually express what this is that I'm looking at as far as cabinet or window. To me, I thought it was a cabinet based on the lighting. It looks like it's coming from something inside, but if you're indoors and you're taking picture in the darkness of a window with a light outside, it would illuminate the window the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. There's obviously stuff in it, but you know how they could set up displays in front of a window. And then so this could be a person on the other side outside. But then there's all kinds of other strange things in the photo. I guess that could still just be stuff hanging in the window. So everybody, what we're looking at, it's a dark room. So she has like the lights turned off, except for there is light coming from this cabinet versus window with light outside. There is, bottles or something like that. But on the other side of the bottles, you see this face. Now, it's only just part of the head, forehead, eyes, start of the nose, and then the frame of the cabinet or window is cutting right under the nose off.
Right.
Then below that, you see a body. You see one shoulder and a chest and stuff like that. You can't see the other shoulder.
Right.
I mean, the features they're pretty detailed. It's not like it's a blob is what I mean.
Yeah.
Or a mist or anything like that.
That's the thing. I'm glad that you said that because, yes, you can actually make out some details on the face. So I just sent you another picture as well, which is the outside of this exact same location at night. So you can get an idea of if somebody was on the inside taking pictures, what they would be seeing on the outside. So there is a light on the outside, but it's casting such a high reflection that if anybody was standing there, I'm not sure you'd be able to make out that level of detail in your picture, I feel like the light on the outside would be casting such an illumination on that window that you would get a glare. You wouldn't see the eyes and the nose like you do. But that's just me. I'm not a specialist by any means.
Right.
I'm just looking at a photo.
And that's totally the window. That's not a cabinet, because you can see the print on the window just like the outside window that you just showed me. Mm-hmm. There's like letters in
vacancy
the center.
Or whatever it says.
And you can see that they do have bottles and whatnot displayed in the front. This is that window.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that, but the lattice is the same too, whatever the window paneling.
Yeah. So this possible spirit is outside. It's outside the museum looking in. And so it could be a person.
It could be a person. That's true.
But like you said, it is strange that she picked that up.
Yeah.
With that reflection, the light should have kind of washed anybody out in the street. But yeah, it looks like some old lady is glaring in. She's like, what's that fucker doing in there? I see somebody moving around. Should we call the police?
Right. Well, with that said, there is the one lady that's been seen around the courtyard too. So maybe this one just can't get back in. I don't know. It was a weird picture that was taken in 2015 and it had no comment. So I don't know if anybody on hauntedplaces.org had even seen it or if they felt the same thing that you feel, that it could just be somebody looking in from the outside.
It could be. But I mean, there could also be ghosts outside. I'm not saying, oh, this is for sure a person. I see where you say like it should have washed them out more and you can see them more clearly than you think you would if it's a real person. But that is definitely the outside window.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm glad you feel that way. So there it is. Now, the pharmacy is not a place that you can really rent out for paranormal investigations. It seems that some of the tour groups have good connections and you can gain access through them. Or you can book a wedding and have a seance instead of a reception. That's the way I'd go. And that would be the wedding that everyone remembers. They do also offer a $5 day tour, and you can always download one of these apps on your phone, like Wendy usually mentions, like the castbox ITC2 app, which was made by the dude that pointed out the EVPs to the YouTuber in my story. It's $8 and it has a 4.2 star rating. I think that's pretty decent, but I've never experimented with it myself. Just saying. We mentioned this a second ago. Ghost hunting can be pretty pricey. So why not try on an $8 app?
Yeah, we definitely have to do that this year.
Yeah, I'm totally down with $8.
Yeah, just to see if it brings you anything of value would be interesting.
I mean, surprisingly, like I said, this one had really good reviews. I saw where lots of people were saying it was very impressive for an app. So I don't know. Have to look into a few more of them. But anyway, you can go sort of undercover using one of those apps and see if anything is trying to communicate with you before you go through with the wedding idea.
That's much pricier.
So much more pricier. And then there's always the option of seeking out those fun night tours. So look, I really focused in on the pharmacy because the story was one from New Orleans that I had never heard of before. But another really interesting thing that I learned while researching this location, and it screams of irony. I mean, because we say this all the time, as I'm sure everyone else in the world does, that everywhere in New Orleans is haunted. Well, while I was getting all of my bits and pieces together about the haunted pharmacy at 514 Chartres Street, I found that there are 12 other buildings on the same street that are also haunted.
See? Because that could be that ghost coming from another one glaring in.
That's why when you said that, I was like, yep, it could very well be. Because in total, I mean, with this building, that's 13 haunted locations all on Chartres Street in New Orleans. I mean, where else can you go where there's 13 hauntings all on the same street? I don't know. I mean, there could be other places, but it just, to me, gives more validity to that saying. And, you know, it made me feel better about always saying, well, everything in New Orleans is haunted.
We weren't making that statement up.
You haven't been making it up all those years. Some of the other hauntings along the street that I found out about are related to fires or sketchy deaths, but they were some sudden or tragic stories that would include ghostly screams, phantom moans, fire alarms, spectral people, like maybe someone peeking into a pharmacy, like, my arm's been burned. I need some help. Where's the pharmacist?
Hey.
So things like that. So, I mean, if you're in New Orleans, visit Chartres Street. I think you'll find something interesting there. And so as usual, now that I've read more about New Orleans, I'm ready to go back. It's such a fantastic historic area with an interesting vibe that seems to morphs as you move through the city. You'll be walking along a quiet street, just admiring the architecture, when you turn the corner and you're suddenly thrown into the middle of a jazz band, and people have poured into the street to dance and sing. I mean, even the weather there is extreme, which really seems to add to the heightened energy. It's very hot and humid, and the sun will burn you, super quickly. And while you're thinking that you're about to have a heat stroke, then it suddenly turns dark and windy, and then there's a pop-up thunderstorm, And it's such a neat place, and I can go on and on, but I have to wrap this up because I didn't write anything else. So I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about Mardi Gras and a whole lot about a New Orleans sinister legend. If you did, please rate and review our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you go to hear us. That would be super cool. Or you can always drop us a line at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com and let us know if you've been to the pharmacy and have an interesting story that you want to share, or if there's a location that you've been dying to hear about. Just let us know. We'll do our best to research the story and give you all the paranormal goodies that your heart desires. We also have merch available on our sites. Please visit us at creaturesofthenightparanormal.com or on Etsy under the Spirit Emporium. Now, we aren't mad doctors, though we do have a few items in our shop that may help with your spiritual ailments, or if you're just dying to get yourself into a new shirt. I'll post a few things on Twitter and Facebook. So as always, you can find us under COTN Paranormal or on Instagram as COTN_paranormal. So that's it. Thanks again for listening to our show, guys.
Oh my God, Chris, thank you so much for doing this story. We can revisit New Orleans every other week if you want.
I know. Well, that's good. I think there is enough history there in New Orleans and hauntings. I could probably do a whole year's worth of podcasting from New Orleans and I'd still have stories left over. And that's a stupid thing to say, but it's so fucking true. And the thing that I thought was most interesting, there's like I think it's like Pharmacy Times or Pharmaceutical Times, some kind of like publication for pharmacists. And they were so enthralled by the hauntings that are going on at this location that they included it in their article. So I was like, come on, New Orleans, they're fucking talking about it. You guys can talk about it too. It shouldn't be such a hush-hush kind of a thing. But to me, it was kind of like Mobile, Alabama with their, come on, we were the first to have a Mardi Gras. Notice us, recognize, come to Mobile, come to Alabama. And then you get to Alabama and it's like, yeah, this isn't really the Mardi Gras I was looking for. I mean, yeah, okay, you guys are throwing beads. That's cute. But I'm looking for, more of the rowdy kind of style, They just want to have their historic part known and they want to keep all the rest of it on the DL. And even the funny thing, too, about Mobile, so it moved to New Orleans, and then people from Alabama had to go and help them with the fucking floats. They didn't know what they were doing in New Orleans.
So they helped get them started, and then they're like, no, we got this. All right. And then just Mobile is forgotten.
Yeah.
Fucking assholes. Well, Mobile, we remember.
We remember.
We're letting people know if they want I guess if it's like, it's family friendly, if you're interested in celebrating that, then maybe that's the place to go for the family friendly fun. And if you can pawn your children off on somebody else, then go to New Orleans. And there's tons of haunted things to fucking see. So it's just an endless array of stories. I had never heard this story before. I don't think Lore has ever done it.
Oh, really? Yes.
Well, I have a bad memory, so somebody might correct me on that. But I've never heard this story before. And yeah, it's so funny that we were there. It wasn't even on our radar. But how could it be with 13 other locations just on one block? It's like...
Right? And then the voodoo tour, like dropping in our lap the way that it did. I mean, there's so many things. I went to a map just to make sure that there was no possible way that we could have stumbled upon it. Dude, it's buried. Like, it's on a side street that we would have had to have, like, known to take. It's not one that we would have had to take, from the Zach and Addie murder house back to our hotel. It wasn't one of those kind of side streets. I was hoping, I went back and I looked through all the pictures that I had taken when we were in New Orleans, because I was like, I wasn't even looking. Like, I'm surprised I didn't, like, brain myself walking through that city, because I had my phone in my hand most of the time, just snapping away. So I went and looked at all my pictures and I didn't see it. So I had to pull it up on Google Maps and, I did the whole street view and I clicked and I'm like, where is it? It's actually, what's the main street, Wendy, where we got lost? I was navigating and I got us going in the wrong direction. But we ended up by that huge castle-like thing. You remember? It almost looks like Disneyland and we took a couple of selfies in front of it.
That's Jackson Square.
Where?
I don't know what the street is called right there. I forget.
So Chartreuse is one of the streets kind of right behind it. So had we wandered a little further back while I was trying to get Google Maps to route us, where were we even going? I don't even remember. We were looking for something.
I think when we were trying to find the place to eat, that barbecue place.
Oh,
I don't
that's
remember
right.
the name of, but it was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. But New Orleans is fun, man. You know, again, looking this place up, it's just all the memories came flooding back. And there's just so much more still to explore. And, you know, and then I found out that the kids were actually buried at St. Louis Cemetery #1. And it's like, oh, that cemetery was impressive. And I only took one tour there. I've only been once. Wendy, I think that was your second or third time there.
Oh, it was my third.
It was your third. That's right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I'll take a fourth and a fifth.
I think, and when I was there, I was fangirling out for the cemetery. So I'm just like, oh, there's that. Oh, there's that. Let me take a picture. I didn't actually get to like sit and absorb it. I was just like, I need to soak in as much as I can all at once. But it doesn't work that way. I only remember through the pictures because.
Well, there's just so much to see and experience and so many stories to know and to learn and to, you know, walk those steps and see where these places are. So
yeah,
it's something that you can continuously revisit. This story was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. And I'm sure everybody else is going to love it.
I hope so. It's a good one. But guys, just remember when you go there, they're not so apt in telling you about the ghosts. They want you to be educated into the pharmacy stuff. So definitely check it out. It's only $5. I mean, and I think if you bring a kiddo, it's only $4 for them. So it's a cheap tour. And it's hot in New Orleans. So sometimes you need to be indoors.
You can use your kid as like distraction. Go knock something over while I sneak away and investigate. No.
I'm just going to film these stairs for a while. You guys go on. Yeah, no, you're welcome. And everybody listening, I hope that you enjoyed it. Again, thanks so much for downloading the show and listening and continuing to come back for more. We appreciate it.
We really do. Thank you. And that's it, right?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Bye.
Bye.